what has been the most difficult part of this journey leading up to where you are right now?
Oh, oh gosh. Well, we have a mutual friend, Charles Eisenstein, who, he spoke on my podcast not that long ago. And, he said something on that show that was really, that really struck me. And, he said, being a popular podcast host or having a large social media following doesn't inherently make you a leader. What makes you a leader is doing something from a guidance that's not already part of the general prevailing belief system. And that's what we need right now. He said, we need people to follow that impulse. And I've always been a kid who likes to beat to my own drum. It was like, oh, everyone's going that way. Like, what's off this deep end over here? And it's served me incredibly well over the years. And it's also been incredibly challenging and really difficult. And especially right now, we live in such divided, polarized times. And I would say the most difficult thing is having the courage to listen to the wisdom of your own heart and to be willing to step beyond the cultural constructs of narratives and stories. And so, ayahuasca has been my primary plant teacher for about 10 years. And some of the primary work I do right now is, and for the past few years, has been combining microdosing ayahuasca vine, Banisteriopsis caapi, with somatic coaching and mindset coaching. And I work a lot with entrepreneurs and leaders and executives and CEOs, and it's incredibly fulfilling work, and I really love it. And I went through a really intense experience about 6 months where this huge group of social justice warriors tried to cancel me, and it was really hard. And I really had to go in and really check myself, and I think that when we don't know, when we look out and look at what other people are doing, I think it's easy to judge. And there's this really great quote that's like, the more you get to know someone's stories, the more that your judgments and preconceived notions about them fall by the wayside. And I think that, yeah, right now, I think the hardest thing is really stepping out in alignment with your truth, your integrity, and not from a place of trying to convince anyone of anything, but just from a place of this is my truth. And this is my relationship with this plant medicine that I'm cultivating, that I'm growing, and that I make this medicine and work with people in this way that feels very deeply in alignment with my truth and how it served me and helped me. And I think somebody is always going to have something to say about what you're doing and have harsh criticisms. And I think that's the sort of Jedi training for this time, and just as a note, Banisteriopsis caapi ayahuasca vine is legal in the US. So I'm not doing anything illegal when I talk about making this medicine as a microdosing substance and working with people in that way. And that's actually one alternative that a lot of people I work with, besides really resonating with that particular plant teacher, one of the main sort of drawbacks for working with psychedelics and with microdosing is people are afraid of being prosecuted. We still live in an era of prohibition, although that is changing very fast. But the message I keep getting from the plants is that these plants are here to help us wake up. I also had the privilege of interviewing Dennis McKenna for the podcast, and I love he's so poetic, and he said, the plants are the neurotransmitters of the Gaian mind telling us to wake up. And when we receive guidance, and even that guidance goes beyond what we can see, beyond this current reality that we live in. That's what being a visionary is. That's what being a creative visionary is. Creativity is our ability to make our ideas manifest in this world. And we need people who are willing to step out beyond as Charles said, the general prevailing belief systems. And that's incredibly hard to do. And I went through a really hard time, and this isn't about feel bad for me, because 99% of the people that, follow my content, they so support the work that I'm doing. And I'm so grateful for that. And I went through a month of just not wanting to get out of bed and opening up my email and someone telling me that I should be so ashamed of myself that I should kill myself. And it's really, you consider yourself on the plant medicine path? That's tricky for me, that's tricky. And so choosing to also respond rather than react, and not wanting to perpetuate, more division, and just not engaging not engaging in arguments. Like, if people want to have conversations, it's like, yeah, let's come together. Let's talk about this. Like, tell me your perspective. That's like a direct way that we can help actually enhance cognitive flexibility. But like staying in that place of heart-centeredness, open heart, open mind, that's incredibly hard to do for all of us right now, and that's really, I feel like, what we're being called to do. So I would say, yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but that's, I would say, the most challenging thing. And I'll just add one more thing, that, I'm about to host this 3-month microdosing mastermind with this group of entrepreneurs in the plant medicine space. And when people fill out their applications, I ask people to tell me, like, what are they really struggling with? What limiting beliefs are they working with? And like 70% of all applicants say they're afraid of stepping out and listening to their guidance because of what people are going to say, and how people are going to react, and the fear of imposter syndrome. And so this is so human, and I think when we do choose to step out, and we give ourselves permission to step out, that we actually also have to hold that with a lot of responsibility. And so, yes, someone can make an argument that, the work I'm doing is culturally appropriating. And I also think we're facing a time of crisis on the planet, and it's an all hands on deck situation. And if I can work with one person and prevent them from not just committing suicide, or falling into depression, where we can't really contribute when we're working with depression, or even just constant low moods. And so if there's these amazing substances that help us to feel better, to reach out, to connect, to build bridges, to find new solutions to the most challenging problems that we face, then, like, I'm an advocate for that. And I have to stand in that truth. And this is the path of fire in a lot of ways. And that's why I consider it to be like advanced Jedi training for this time.
Make sure y'all head over to benjosephstewart.com, become a member. You'll have access to the growing library of deeper dives, where I talk about all the stuff that I really can't talk about on YouTube. Make sure you get involved in the Discord chat. That's where a lot of the conversation is happening, talking about new theories, being able to interweave into the greater conversation that is how we awaken infinity. That's our highest potential. And I just want to remind you, you are the most powerful technology ever known to creation. Wield it like an artist with a conscience.